So I'm sorry that this video quality isn't great because I'm recording this on my webcam. So the thing is, I actually recorded this video on my iPhone, which is a way better camera, and my Rode microphones. But my phone decided to die after an hour of recording, so which is like silly little me. I should have known to take breaks and charge it, but I guess I didn't realize I was recording for an hour and it died and I didn't save the video. So we're gonna do this with low quality and you're still gonna watch it, okay? Okay. So today we are diving on in.
Dive on in.
To Tiger King. So Tiger King is something I fell in love with in 2020. This is so frustrating talking about this all over again after I already did for an hour. It's actually so frustrating. Okay, but this video is years and years and years in the making, so I'm just gonna do it with low quality, and you're gonna still sit there, okay? Okay? Yeah. Okay. So Tiger King was a documentary that came out in 2020 about obviously tigers and the Tiger King Joe Exotic, who crazy. We'll get into it. But a lot of stuff happened: murder for hire, drugs, three-way marriages, suicide, unaliving yourself, animal abuse, a lot of crazy things happened. Political campaign happened too. Okay, anyways, so Tiger King came out in 2020, as I just said. But my experience with Tiger King is that I was obsessed with it, okay? I made everybody watch it. In 2022, I wrote a letter to Joe Exotic, but I'd never sent it. And I'm glad I never sent it because now my view and my opinions have changed on Joe Exotic because when it came out, I was 16. And so I was on Joe's side, I didn't really think about the misogyny of it all. I just thought he was funny, and I was like, well, it's okay because he's gay, when it's actually not okay, regardless. So I was really in support of him back then, but now watching it through an adult lens, he's very misogynistic, and it is not okay. And he's still a Trump supporter, so he's just not for me, and I don't like him, okay? But I used to. So my stance has definitely changed, definitely. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to go into depth of every episode of season 1 of Tiger King. I did not watch season 2 because I feel like that's just a cash grab. So I did not go into that. But we're going to go into every episode of season 1 and I'm going to tell you what they're up to now. So let's start again. I'm actually so angry. I'm actually so angry. I thought that would never happen, but it did. Okay. Season 1, episode 1 is titled Not Your Average Joe. Which, yeah. You think? Stupid. You think? Anyways, you can't say anything bad about me because in 2 days it's my birthday. So you can't say one negative thing about me or about this video or about my hair and how crazy it is right now because I did a bad job dyeing it. You can't say anything negative because it's my birthday in 2 days. So sorry. Okay, so the documentary starts with all these crazy edits of like what's to come and yada yada yada. And we get this crazy quote from, I believe James Garretson said it. He said, "The big cat people are backstabbing pieces of shit." Yeah. Actually, yeah. They are. And they are. So good job. Good job. And you're one of them, James. So we learned that Joe was arrested for murder for hire. He hired somebody to kill a woman, and that woman is Carol Baskin.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
Who we'll get into her later. But he was threatened with 79 years in prison.
79 years.
Yeah. Which, yeah, rot in jail. Actually, rot in jail. You rot in jail. So Carol Baskin is another zoo owner, but she is also an animal rights activist. And she's down in Florida and she's very against Joe and Joe's very against her and they battled they battled for years and years and years and years and years. Carol Baskin wanted to shut down his zoo, obviously, because she believes that he's abusing the animals, he's neglecting them, and all these horrible things. And she's an animal rights activist and she cares about the animals. So obviously Joe wanted her gone, and that is why the whole murder for hire thing happened. And we get this also like really insane quote, but that it encapsulates like he's a completely insane gay gun-toting drug addict fanatic.
He's a completely insane gay gun-toting drug addict fanatic.
Yeah. And that's Joe to a T. That really is, and that's why I liked him when I was 16 back in 2020. That's why I liked him, is just because he was this crazy personality. And like I said, I justified everything he was doing wrong because I was like, well, he's gay, so it doesn't matter. It that cancels everything out. But it doesn't. He's still a horrible person doing horrible things. It doesn't matter his sexual orientation. That quote is like that's Joe. That's Joe. So we go back to 5 years ago, which actually Tiger King took 5 years to make, which is crazy, but it makes sense because like the editing is very good, the cinematography is very good, the way they put the story out is very good. It's very well made, so it makes sense that it took 5 years. It's just that's a crazy long commitment, and I could never do that. So that's awesome that they were able to, because it really paid off. But the documentary began because the filmmaker Eric Good.
Hi, it's Eric Good. How are you?
Was investigating a notorious reptile dealer and in Florida actually. And some man came up to them and was like, "Look at what I just bought. It's in my van." They go out there. It's a snow leopard.
In the back of this guy's van was a snow leopard.
Huh? Girl, we're in Florida. They just said it's 100 degrees outside. And you have a snow leopard in your hot ass van? That's crazy. See, that's what I'm saying is that that's a point that I'll be making over and over in this video, is that so many of these people say, I'm all for the animals, I love the animals, and then they go and do something like buying a snow leopard in Florida and keeping it in your van in 100-degree Fahrenheit weather. That's not loving your animals. It's really not. You love to look at them. You love the novelty of having them. You love the power that you feel when you have them and the control over them. You do not love them. And that's something that I realized while watching this that I didn't I didn't catch on the first time. And I'm just going to be punching that point over and over throughout this video because it's crazy to me. You don't love those animals. You love the novelty of having them. And everybody thinking you're hot shit and that you're cool. You're probably overcompensating for something, sir. Most of these zoo owners are men. Yeah, we're seeing a pattern here. They're very manipulative. They love having the power over the animals. They love the novelty of it. They think that everybody's gonna think that they're hot shit and all this and that. Like, that's what a man would do. And I'm not saying everyone, because there's some women out there too. There's some women out there too. But it's mostly men. It's mostly men. And then we are introduced to the famous Joe Exotic.
My name's Joe Exotic.
Who has, at this point in the beginning of the documentary, 187 big cats. Huh? Literally, like, public zoos don't have that little, like, public zoos have, like, one, maybe two tigers. A private zoo having 187 tigers is insane. One is too many. You're talking about, this will be a point brought up later on, but he has all these money troubles and everything. But it's like, you have 187 big cats. Maybe you shouldn't have that many. Actually, you clearly do not care about those cats. You don't. You just care about the money. And he says that he has an extreme emotional connection to the cats, to his animals.
Very emotional connection between me and these cats. Extreme.
That sounds yucky to me. I don't know about you. Yeah, that's just a yucky thing to say. Extreme emotional connection. Sure, buddy. Okay. And the manager, John Rinke, said that most of the staff was unique, and he liked that.
Most of the staff was unique.
And honestly, I like that too, because I like that he's giving all these people that, this is probably their last option, a job. And I think that's really awesome. But I don't think that he is properly training them or educating them, which is a huge issue and is not okay. And that's why there's so many problems, because you are not properly educating your staff. You are not properly training them. But I do love that he takes people that have a hard time getting hired elsewhere. But you should also get them the training that they need. That's on you as a manager, I'm not talking about like John Rinke, even though he should be getting that done too, because he's a manager too. But it's ultimately Joe's responsibility because he's head honcho. And then we get the first taste of Joe's music. Yee. Doggy. Yeah, he sings some country music, if you could call it music. I'm just kidding. It's not that horrible. It's just not for me, and it's cringe. It's cringe. It's definitely cringe. Also, he filmed everything. His whole life filmed. He was coming for David Dobrik's gig. He was reheating David's nachos. He was a hashtag vlogger, okay? Okay? And period. He was going for Liza, okay? That's literally what I wrote down as reheating DD nachos, which David Dobrik. But yeah, he literally would film everything. Everything. So, which is absolutely insane. You just want attention, actually. He had his own live show called JoeExoticTV.com.
He had this live TV show that he would do for a number of his followers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to JoeExoticTV.com. Yeah. On the internet, worldwide, every night at 6 o'clock.
Every night at 6 o'clock p.m. Obviously, not 6 a.m. That'd be insane. But that's insane that, you're getting on your own live show every night at 6 o'clock. That's dinner time, y'all. That is dinner time. Also, it's like, every night, don't you run out of things to talk about? Especially if it's just you. You're just talking to yourself like I am right now. Wouldn't you run out of things every night? Wouldn't you get bored at one point? I don't know. He probably just made up a lot of stuff while talking on there. That would not surprise me, actually. So he had that live show periodically for 10 years. Okay. 10 years is that's a little long to be doing that every night. But it says periodically, so not every night, but still, most nights. And Rick Kirkman, a producer, entered his life, and which, we'll get into his whole thing later. He has a purpose in this story. But he says that Joe never had more than guess. How many people do you think were watching Joe's live every night? I'll give you a second. Type it in the comments. The answer is never more than 80 people.
He never had more than 80 people watching the thing live.
Okay, and I know that I don't get a ton of views, right? I'm aware of that, okay? But I don't go on live. I don't post a video every single day, for 10 years. Because, that's a little... I don't know, it would diminish my spirits a lot if if less than 80 people were watching my live and I went on every single night, like that would hurt my mental health. For doing it for that long and like you've made little to no progress, like I commend him for keeping strong and doing it though. Like I couldn't definitely not do that. And most of the time on the show, he was, guess what? Complaining about Carol and the animal rights people down in Florida.
We did a show every night. I'm going to say 9 out of 10 shows was about the animal rights people and Carol down in Florida.
'Cause duh, what else would he be doing, silly? Talking about saving animals? No, he wants to talk about his personal beef with Carol, okay? He does not want to talk about saving animals. That'd be crazy. He just wants to talk about his personal beef, okay? So Joe believes that Carol's plan is to gather her following to go after his zoo and chase him and other zoo owners out of their zoos.
Carol Baskin is so influential.
Which, like, he's not far off, but I wouldn't say that Carol does have a massive following, but she's more directly going after him. Like, there's a lot of lawsuits back and forth, so I would say it's more direct instead of, like, her fans. Like, Stan Wars, you know? And Carol said that her main focus is on the cats. Crazy cat people. This is actually insane. Like, let's celebrate because a cat person caring about cats, that's unheard of, actually. So Carol's main focus is saving the cats. And she thinks that she can do so by staying on track, keeping focused. But obviously she does get a little sidetracked with Joe, but like how could you not? He would be like a crazy gnat, you know? Just would not go away. She thinks that she is fixing the problem and Joe and other private zoos like his are creating the problem.
What really sets apart Big Cat Rescue from a zoo is that we are fixing the problem, they are creating the problem.
So it just creates this vicious cycle where they're just going after each other and after each other and after each other, and there's no resolve. There's no resolve. It just becomes this crazy cycle. It's just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth instead of working together to benefit the cats. Or just animals as a whole. Or just being good people. So she mentions that tigers need 400 square feet. And trust me, there's no private zoo that is giving them 400 square feet. Especially Joe's Zoo. Like, there's no way, no way. I mean, not square feet, square miles, sorry. Square miles. Let's get that right. Square miles, okay? She mentions that tigers need 400 square feet of 400 square miles of territory in the wild. They are not getting that, obviously. No zoo is providing them that. I wouldn't even say, like, public zoos are providing that. Nobody's providing that. But she has her cats in a cage also. But she says it's because she wants to provide them with a safe space to live until they die. Which, like, makes sense. But it's like, do you have sick cats or are they just regular cats that... I don't know. Did people, like, surrender their cats to her? I don't know. So, I mean, from what she says, she has good intentions. Oh my god, I mentioned this in the other intro that I filmed that got deleted. But I think I mentioned this also. I'll figure it out while I'm editing it. But there's so much misogyny because why was the whole world attacking Carol Baskin? I understand her husband went missing, and I'll touch on that more, but like, there's so much misogyny because nobody's going after Joe for abusing his cats and the murder for hire thing and just being scummy and fraud and like so many other horrible things. But everybody's just like, meh, he's just crazy. And I was one of those people, you know? They're just like, he's just crazy. But I hate Carol Baskin. She should rot in hell for what she did to her husband. You see, there's a big difference. Carol is actually, well, of what she says. She actually cares about the animals, so and we don't know what happened to her husband, you know? So I don't understand why it's so misogynistic to just go after her like that. And she says that she has always preferred cats over humans. So basically, she's a horse girl, but with cats instead of horses. Do any of y'all know horse girls? I grew up with a friend being a horse girl, and I wouldn't say we're still friends. I wouldn't say that we're still friends, but I mean, we're acquaintances. Maybe we talk like every few years on Instagram or so, but I feel like everybody knows a horse girl, but she's that with cats, basically. I mean, look at her house and look at her wardrobe. So, we then meet John Finley, who is the husband of Joe.
He showed me love, and I learned how big my heart was.
And he got a lot of eyes on him after Tiger King because of his appearance and the interviews. So he was shirtless with tattoos all over him, hairy, barely any teeth, balding, and earrings. Bold choice, bold choice, bold choice, bold choice. I would say it was a little bit distracting every time he was on camera, but I also think it was like, I think he mentioned that it was the producer's idea or something like that, which makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense. I like John. From what I can tell, he's a good person. But him and Joe were together for 11 years. I can't even imagine being in any relationship for 11 years, let alone a relationship with Joe Exotic for 11 years. Yeah, I couldn't do that, baby. No, I can't even be in a relationship for a month, okay? So, and Joe knew from the age of 13 that he was gay, and he struggled with it a lot because of where he grew up and how he grew up and how his family is. And my nails look weird on this camera. Oh, now they look good. I'm just white. Anyways, so he was struggling with it. And he came out to his dad, and his dad told him, "Do not come to my funeral." Which is a horrible, horrible thing. And I feel so sorry because, like, nobody should be told that. Not even Joe Exotic. So I can't imagine how that must have felt. That must felt horrible to hear from your own family, especially being so brave to come out when he probably knew it was going to be a bad reaction. So very brave. Okay, and the next part, trigger warning. So Joe tried to unalive himself by driving his truck off of a bridge.
So I had a real issue dealing with that, and one night I drove my car off a bridge.
Which, I don't want to make this about me, but you know what's crazy? Is that that was my plan back in 2024. Maybe I got it from here, like subconsciously. Or maybe he looked into the future and got it from me. So it makes no sense. Literally crazy because that was my plan. And then last year I didn't drive off a bridge, but the person I was with drove off a bridge and he died. So I just feel like, well, and I was in the car, just that's just saying, like, somebody I knew drove. No, I was in the car. I was the passenger in the car, and he died, and that's where I got this gal from, and many others. But not to make this about me. It's not about me, but I feel like we're connected with driving off of bridges. That's my driving off a bridge twin. Okay, anyways, so he went out to Florida to seek therapy, which good on him for getting the help that he needed. And then his neighbor introduced him to various animals, which is how he fell in love with animals, which totally makes sense. Like, if you're at rock bottom and somebody introduces you to something that gives you joy, like, I can understand how he became obsessive. I can understand. And they use this term throughout the whole documentary. They call it the war on big cats between the animal rights activists and the private zoo owners.
There's a war in America that's being fought for an enormous amount of money.
Which is that vicious cycle I was talking about earlier, where they're just chasing after each other and there's no resolve happening. So then they start talking about Doc Antle. Oh, Doc Antle. Do I have a dimple? Is it both? I don't know. Sorry. Anyways, so Doc Antle. We'll get into him more in depth later, but he's a bad guy basically. And he's viewed as the smarter, more sophisticated Joe Exotic. Which, yeah. And then we are introduced to the man himself, Bhagavan Doc Antle.
Right. So I'm Dr. Bhagavan Antle.
He's got his own private zoo. He also has various animals. He has a very adorable elephant named Bubbles. Cute as hell. But he has a non-caged approach to his zoo. So instead of caging the animals and separating the animals and the audience, he allows them to naturally be together. Which is like such a liability. I don't even know what the waivers were like to get in. Insane. Like, that's, no. There has to be so many waivers because that's a huge liability. But because of this non-cage approach, he has cub petting at his zoo, which, if you don't know, which you probably don't, they take cubs, like tiger cubs, lion cubs, usually tigers, and basically pass them around to an audience, and everybody's petting them and holding them and taking pictures, blah 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 blah, which is abuse. It is very harmful to the cub. Think about it. Put yourself in that cub's shoes. You're just a little baby cub, and all of a sudden, you're taken and given to all these people. Like, what if you don't want any interaction, And it's not natural. This is a unnatural. It's not. It's not. That is a wild, endangered animal that you are trying to domesticate, and I'm petting it and taking pictures with it. That's not natural. And so it is abusive. It's very harmful. Just literally put yourself in their shoes. Just getting pet every single day for money. And then a lot of people, once the cubs are, out of cub age, they kill them. They kill them. They just want the money for the cub petting. They literally just want the money from the abuse that they endured. So, and that's one of the things that Doc practiced was cub petting. And he actually influenced Joe to start cub petting because Joe viewed Doc as his mentor and he looked up to him a lot and he learned so much of just business from Doc. He learned about marketing, he learned about just making money generally from Doc because that was his mentor. He looked up to him and so he started doing things that Doc did, like cub petting, which is very unfortunate. It's just very unfortunate. But yeah, so because Doc was cub petting, Joe now also does cub petting, or did cub petting.
He sent several of us up there to see his facility so we could do the same thing at his place.
But Doc sees this as, Doc sees cub petting and, his non-cage approach as, well, I'm educating them, and that could lead to them donating towards conservation efforts.
We believe these incredible up-close experiences makes a connection between them and the wild world, opening their hearts and their wallets for us to do our worldwide conservation work.
Buddy, no. You want the money. You're not educating them. You're entertaining them. You don't care about the cats. You care about your money and your cult. Okay? We'll get into that in a second. Your cult, yeah. Doc. Yeah, you don't care about the animals. You just want the money. You just see them. You don't see them as living, breathing things. I mean, most of these people, though, and I keep saying this over and over, but it's so true. Like, they don't see them as living, breathing organisms. They see them as just money opportunities, business opportunities. And so it's like, you are not doing anything with those animal encounters. You are not raising money for conservation. You are entertaining them and getting money from it. So let's actually clock that. Let's be real with ourselves, Doc. But he does charge a premium for his tickets so that he can feed his animals well, which is awesome. Like,
we charge a premium because it costs so much to do proper care.
If people are going to private zoos like that and they have that kind of money, let them spend it on them. Which, like, I don't want that money to go to Doc, obviously, but at least he says that, he charges a lot of money so the tigers and the animals, it's not just tigers, so that the animals can eat well. So at least that is, like, that's a good thing. But Joe, on the other hand, Joe feeds his now 227 tigers cheap food. Guess where he gets it from? Ready? Expired Walmart meat. Yeah. Expired Walmart meat. And guess who also eats this meat? His employees. His employees. Because they don't make enough to go buy their own food. Because Joe does not pay them enough. Joe does not pay them enough. And, okay, everybody lives there. That's how, like, Doc's zoo operates. That's how Joe's zoo operates. Everybody lives there at the zoo. So they're living in these trailers, which horrible conditions, and I'll touch on that later. But they're living in these trailers, and this truck comes by with all this expired Walmart meat. It's expired meat, and it's meat that, like, people have taken to the register, and then they're like, oh, I don't want this. But they can't put it back. So it goes to Joe and the employees hop in the truck. Damn, that highlighter is crazy good. So they hop into that truck. They pick out what they want first, and then the rest goes to the animals. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that so awesome? So that's where Joe gets his food. And sadly, we learn that this was not just Joe's dream, but his brother's dream. They were supposed to run it together. And on their way to making that dream happen, Joe's brother gets hit by a semi-truck by a drunk driver in a semi-truck. And he passes away, which is very unfortunate. I couldn't imagine, like, oh my god, I'm finally getting to do my dream with my sibling and we're building this. And then they die. Like, that's heart-wrenching. Genuinely. Like, I do have sympathy for him. Like, there is moments to have sympathy for Joe, but it doesn't excuse anything that he does. Like, because his brother dying does not excuse him abusing animals, So, I do have a lot of sympathy for, empathy, sympathy, both kind of. I cried a lot during Tiger King, actually, so a lot of empathy. But I do genuinely care for him because nobody should go through some of the things that he had to endure. But neither did his animals. None of his animals should have endured what he put them through. So Joe starts, going to all these schools, talking against drugs and alcohol,
I went to schools and I talked to them about drugs and alcohol.
which is absolutely insane. Imagine a man that looks like Joe Exotic coming to your school talking about how you should not do drugs and alcohol. Yeah, okay, not to say that we should judge books by their cover, but that man telling you about drugs and alcohol is just like, no. I wouldn't be able to take him seriously, unfortunately. Um, but he noticed that his audience, which is children, were not paying attention, which is children like. So what does he do? He starts bringing animals into the mix, which, like, you would think that the children wouldn't pay attention to what he's saying and that they would only pay attention to the animals. But, what do I know? What do I know? I wasn't there, so I don't know how it paid off, or if it did. I don't know. But that would be my thought, was like, aren't they just gonna pay attention to the animals now? They're not gonna hear a single thing I just said. And then, you know what he also started doing? Magic.
So then I started adding magic.
Started doing magic, okay? He should have gone on America's Got Talent. I would have gave him the golden buzzer, okay? You're up here talking about don't do drugs and alcohol. Was a tiger with magic taught to you by a 12-year-old? Golden buzzer. You are the youngest person ever, okay? Golden buzzer right there, okay? Race Vanderwall who? Tape face who? Piff Puff Piff the Magic Dragon who? Which one is it? Piff Puff Piff Puff? I used to be a huge America's Got Talent fan. That's how I know names. So yes, like I said, the magic was taught to him by a 12-year-old named J.P. Wilson.
He had a 12-year-old kid kind of showing him how to do stuff.
Girl. Imagine you're a child that knows magic. You're a 12-year-old and your name is J.P. Wilson, okay? Just a weird example. Joe Exotic comes up to you. You don't know him. He comes up to you and says, "All right, little boy, can you teach me some magic? I'll let you pet my pet tiger. If you teach me some magic, little boy." Terrifying, actually. Little boy, I need you to teach me some magic, little boy. Teach me your dark arts, little boy. Ew, my eye. Ew, okay, gross. Teach me your dark magic ways, little boy. I'll let you pet my tiger. I'll let you pet my tiger, little boy. Not that Shane Dawson. Yeah, that'd be actually terrifying. A grown-ass man looking like that coming up to you and asking you to teach him magic. Okay, that's awesome. But Joe, schools weren't enough. He started performing in malls. So they were going, I don't think JP was still him. I think he just kind of taught him at his school and then, he went. They separated from there. JP was coming for him, so it makes sense. So he started traveling to malls. So that's whenever he changed his last name to Joe Exotic, is whenever he was performing in the malls. And he would travel to all these malls in a semi-truck. So in this semi-truck, in the cab, 14 men.
14 of us in a cab of a semi. That's a little cramped.
In the back of the semi, bunch of animals. Doesn't that just sound like hell? You're going on tour with Joe Exotic and 13 other people. You're trying to, sleep And then cab, this is my truck, just ass all over your face because nobody has personal space in there because there's, like I said, 14 of you guys. There's hungry cubs. Because, like, how are you feeding them on the road? You know, it can't be good food. Can't be good food. And there's probably shit and piss everywhere, too. But shit and piss everywhere. You know, they're probably flying all over the back of the semi, even if they're in cages. Those cages are like I would not trust Joe Exotic to have them properly secured, actually. So that sounds literally like a nightmare. And then, oh, also, they were making anywhere from 10 to 40 grand per mall.
There was times that we were doing 20, 30, 40 grand.
That's actually kind of crazy. Like, I feel like that's pretty good money. But it's like, what is your cut individually? Because there's 14 of you guys. And then some of that money has got to go to food for the tigers, gas. Like, what is your cut at the end of the day? Because I don't think that that's worth it. I don't think that that's worth it. I think $10,000 like per person, like, yeah, adoy. But I don't know, with all those factors, like, you can't be getting much. It can't be worth it. So then Carol, her husband Howard, and their PR manager Susan Bass start calling all of these malls and emailing them. They would generate 500 emails to these malls. And they would call these malls and explain to them that what Joe was doing was abuse, that, you know, cub petting is not okay and it is abusive. And they would call them over and over and over and over. And eventually these malls stopped hiring him because they listened to Carol. It was, I mean, it is abuse. And so with these malls not being educated, they stopped hiring Joe. While Carol and like her little team, Carol and everybody, they were tracking where Joe was going, so they would call ahead. And so by the time he would get there, he'd have no job.
And one by one, these malls started refusing to have him back.
And this was a huge loss of income for Joe, as you can imagine. I mean, I bet that he was probably taking a bigger cut than anybody else because he was like, well, I'm the one up there on the stage. I'm the one up there with my face on everything. So I bet he was taking a bigger cut than everybody else for sure. So that was probably a huge income loss, was just all of a sudden I don't have a job and I drove all the way here in a semi truck. Okay. But that's good. Like, good on Carol. And Carol is against taking like cute pictures with cats because it encourages people to go and do cub petting, you know?
Anybody who poses with an exotic cat is a problem.
And so she's very against that, which totally makes sense. Like, it very much does encourage people to like go like, oh, what's the nearest private zoo near me? I'll go to one. I want to go to one because that's a cute picture, and I want a cute picture like that. So it is really a bad influence. Also, so we start getting into Doc's background. He grew up as a professional cowboy in a family of professional cowboys. What is a professional cowboy? Are they talking about like bull riding? Like, I don't know. And I live out in the country, and I don't know. That's all I have for Doc's background for right now for some reason. Okay. Joe says from 4 to 16 weeks old, you can profit $100,000 from one cub.
From the time that they're 4 weeks old to the time that they're 16 weeks old, you can profit $100,000 on that cub.
That's crazy. But okay, like I keep saying, you're thinking about the money. You are not thinking about the cub. You are not thinking about the animal. You are thinking about the money. $100,000 is a lot. It's a lot. But for me, that's not enough to abuse an animal, you know? It's really not. Like, no amount of money would be enough to abuse an animal. And it should never, you know? Like, just the fact that he speaks like that and is like, oh, well, I can make $100,000 off of one cub. Okay, good for you, but, like, that poor cub, you know? Carol said that there's a tiger crisis in America. There's so many tigers in captivity, which there are more tigers in captivity than there are in the wild.
At the same time, there's almost no government regulation of private possession, which I believe is leading to the unbelievable number of these cats in captivity.
Which is insane because, like, tigers, they're a wild animal. And people have just... Because you say you love tigers, and then you put them in captivity, and then you harm them, and then you try to make money off of them, and then whenever they don't benefit you anymore, you kill them, and just go buy new ones and new ones. Yeah, there is a tiger crisis in America, okay? America has a problem. Beyonce. I love that song. That whole album, so good. They go into the story a little bit. I'm not gonna go into it too much. I'm not gonna touch on it too much. But in Zanesville, Ohio, one time this man okay, in Zanesville, Ohio, a man let all of his animals out, and it was all these wild animals, and like all these big cats and everything, and the police were forced to kill them because, you know, they were a danger to the people.
Anything outside the perimeter gets taken down.
And what are police supposed to do? Protect people. So obviously they're gonna kill the animals, yeah. But that's just like, you would let your animals go so that they can Mm-mm. That's insane. Like, just the lengths that these people go to. And we have to speak a little bit with the sheriff, who says that Joe is a constant problem. And I can imagine. Okay. I would hate to be the sheriff in Joe's town. Just probably constant calls about Joe. Constant. Like, that would just be so annoying. It's just like, well, we gotta go deal with Exotic again. Oh, shucks. Why I oughta. You know, that type of thing. And Joe is a very paranoid man, which I think that's the drugs talking. You know, maybe just a thunk. Maybe a thought. Maybe the drugs are making you a little bit paranoid. Maybe all the meth that you're smoking makes you a little bit paranoid. As someone who's worked in treatment centers for 3 years, you know, I don't know, just a little thought in my silly little woman brain. Maybe you should stop doing drugs. Maybe that would make you less paranoid. Okay. Also, he was doing, like, I think it was like a news interview or something. This man threatened a shooting on live TV, okay?
It's gonna be a small Waco.
What? Literally what? Like, how could you be that stupid? And so the sheriff says, like, they are hyper aware of how dangerous Joe is, which is, like, really good that they're not just ignoring the problem. You know, this man literally said that he threatened a shooting on live television, okay? That is a threat. Very dangerous, man. It's not something who's just like, he's so silly, Joe Exotic is so silly, he's so flamboyant. No. He's an actual threat. He's actually dangerous, and we should take it serious. And so I'm glad that the sheriff is taking it serious, and they're hyper aware of him. And Joe literally sees it as, like, his town. Like, I run this town kind of thing. And people are here because I'm here, and all this and that. Girl, like, no. No, it is not your town. So it's actually not. So actually, are you the mayor? No. That's what I thought. Because you lost the election. So it's actually not your town. But he literally views it as if it was his town. Psychotic, okay? Psychotic. The sheriff says that he needs mail about Joe, okay? Like paper mail. Who sends paper mail? No.
I would get a little cutout postcard like this addressed to me.
I just throw mine away. I don't even look at it. Because we got email, we got phones, paper mail. Let's not cut down all those trees just for you to write, I hate Joe Exotic. He threatened to shoot me. And send it to the mayor. Okay. Like, yeah, complain about it, but call, don't email. And PETA obviously is targeting Joe, which Joe does not like. PETA sees, okay, Joe sees PETA as a bad thing.
Problems with PETA coming onto the park and taking pictures and stuff like that.
PETA, the horse is here. That was bad. PETA, the horse is here. That was worse. Okay. So, PETA is targeting Joe. Joe hates PETA. Joe sees them as like, Joe is very against, okay, I'll stop. It's getting annoying. Joe's very against PETA. And see, this is what I'm just saying again. Like, okay, I understand PETA to be like a little excessive. But like, Joe, you're actually crazy and you're actually harming these animals. And it's crazy because he literally like, I love my animals. But the PETA says you're abusing them and you're like, I hate you guys. You guys are the villains. My animals are my business. I own this town. Girl, please. Like, literally, the zoo got accused of hitting their tigers. Why would you hit a tiger? Why would you hit a tiger? That's scary. I mean, I don't know if they did it like with their hand or like what, but like hitting a tiger in any way seems so scary because you would think that they would retaliate, which is not their fault. They are tigers and you're hitting it. You should not be hitting tigers. Okay, and also, I understand that guns are the Second Amendment. You have a right to bear arms, yada, yada, yada. But I think that there should be more gun control. I really do. I'm very against guns. I don't like guns. Joe, I bet you that if he could, he would marry a gun. I bet. He is always armed, but he says, this isn't for animals. This is for people.
I'd shoot you before I shot my cat.
I'm so edgy. That's a crazy thing to say. I would not want to go to your zoo. I would not want to go to your zoo. That's terrifying. I'd be so scared the whole time. I'm such an anxious person. I'd be like, if I look at him the wrong way, he's gonna shoot me and kill me and feed me to the tigers. They also have 24-hour armed guards.
We have 24-hour armed guards. 3 of us wear firearms.
For your zoo? Is that where the money is going? That should be feeding them? Because you're so paranoid? Because you're doing drugs? Huh. Yeah, maybe that money for all that security should go towards the benefit of the tigers. Okay, I understand PETA's coming after you and blah, 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 and you have that security for that. But there's cheaper options for you don't have to have armed guards, okay? 24/7? Yeah, you could have armed guards. But, girl, 24/7 is kind of crazy for a zoo, okay? And Joe filed 40 to 50 police reports of people on his property. Okay, I understand. I understand people are getting on your property, and that's why you have these armed guards and everything 24 hours. But also, we're here talking about how paranoid you are. Were there really 40 to 50 people on your property? Or was it just like a fox or a bird or something like that? And if there were, what are the armed guards doing then, huh? If you had 40 to 50 people on your property, what are the guards doing actually? So what's security doing? What is the purpose of them then? And he's saying that he has like constant threats, which Yeah, whenever you're threatening other people, I would assume people would threaten you too. Can you not take what you dish? Like, you are constantly threatening to shoot Carol Baskin and do all these horrific things to her. But yet, when people do it to you, you're like, this is America, this is my town, people. I'm gonna report you to the police. When it's like, like literally, you get what you get, Joe. You can't just threaten Carol constantly and just chill and just be like, well, I'm good. Everybody should agree with me, so I'm good. No! People are gonna come after you. Like, you can't just say the things that you say and expect everybody to be chill and cool about it. But also, like, so yeah, I would understand, like, if he's getting constant threats, it's kind of, yeah, obvious because he's dishing out constant threats, okay? And Doc says, oh, Carol wants to be the last man standing. See, and this is what I'm saying. Okay, Carol does, I would say, does get a little bit sidetracked and too focused on Joe at times. But for the most part, she really is, like, trying to protect these animals, okay? And it's just like these men are just trying to put her in this box that she doesn't fill. They're just trying to paint her as this horrible hypocrite, you know? But she is a little bit because she does have tigers. But also like I'm pretty sure that her sanctuary was accredited. I think I don't know. You know, she has some kind of leg to stand on, you know? Which Joe says Carol is a hypocrite. See, like I can understand that argument.
I just called her a plain out hypocrite.
But also, like, she's not abusing them like you are. You're just projecting, actually. You're projecting, Joe. You are going after Carol way harder than Carol is going after you. You are very much projecting. And Joe says, well, Carol's making a lot of money and she's exploiting animals. Okay. Joe, what are you doing? Carol has patrons come to her zoo. Okay. Do you have patrons come to your zoo? Okay. Joe has cub petting. Carol does not. So who's exploiting their animals, Joe? Because I don't think it's Carol. Carol only has 15 tigers. Joe has 227. Like, I feel like that's very telling. Very telling. And yeah, she makes good money. And I think it's because she's better at where to spend her money. She's way better at that than you are. You are horrible with money, Joe. You put your money in all the wrong places. And she's just better at that. So yeah, she has more money. But she's not exploiting yeah, she might be exploiting her animals a little bit. But you're way worse, Joe. And then Rick Kirkman says that they're equally as bad, which I could see that point also. Like, I could totally see that argument. They are equally as bad, I would say. No, I wouldn't say that. And Rick Kirkman says that they're equally as bad, which I feel like in some aspects, yes. But, and I'm like not trying to ride hard for Carol, okay? I'm just saying that a lot of this is coming from a misogynistic place. And so I'm just going for combat for Carol in that regard. I do agree that she lost sight of what this was about at some points, and she made it more about herself and more about Joe. And you know, it's like, why do you have tigers? But now is a different story, and we'll get into like the now later. But so like I don't mean to be dick riding Carol, but I don't think she should. I don't think she should be compared to Joe. You know, like he's way, way, way worse than her. I just think people hate her because she's a woman. So I don't think they're equally as bad, but I don't think Carol's a saint. I think that, you know, she still, at the end of the day, has tigers. And she still operates, like, as a zoo. Like, patrons coming in and everything. So, at the end of the day, yeah, she is still doing that and doing zoo tours and everything. But Joe's way worse, so I would not say that they're equal. But like I said, Carol's bad too. They're both bad. Carol's not a saint. I'm just saying. A lot of this comes from a misogynistic point of view. And Joe is just constantly online talking about Carol, making death threats against Carol, making sexual harassment threats against Carol, any kind of threat, actually, towards Carol, he's making.
Happy birthday, Carol.
He's getting this mannequin to look like her and saying it's Carol and shooting it or blowing it up or doing sexual things to it. It is just like, it's crazy to say that they're equally as bad. I don't know. And Carol does go like online a lot, and she does use her fan base quite a bit, I would say. But she's not going online and saying that she's gonna kill Joe Exotic, you know? When Joe is doing that every night to Carol. So, and they were just like bashing each other online. You know, Joe was bashing Carol, and Carol, like I said, Carol was like, she did have a big following. She would go on there and say, don't support Joe Exotic. He does this and this and this, and throwing out all these accusations and everything, and using her audience like that. So yeah, she, in a way, she was bashing him. But girl, I think what he was doing was way worse, because she's just saying like, don't support Joe because of this, and this. These are things that he does that are not okay. And he's making death threats. Like, I don't think that that's comparable. I really don't. But Carol made an animal abuse site with Joe on it. So she made, I don't remember, like, I didn't write all the details about it down because at this point my hands were hurting so bad from writing. But I know that she made some sort of website about animal abuse, and the whole thing was like Joe's name and picture everywhere. But like, she wasn't making death threats. So, just saying, just a little thought in my little woman brain. Like I mean, that's still bad. Like I'm saying, she's not a saint, and I'm not trying to dick ride for her, even though like I kind of am. I don't mean to, but I'm just sticking up for a woman. But she still does bad things like that. There's an example. But it's not comparable to Joe. But we all do bad things, right? Okay, Joe says that Carol is the biggest threat in the animal world. Oh wait, no, sorry. I read that wrong. Joe says Carol is the biggest terrorist in the animal world. Crazy! She's not the one that is sneaking into people's zoos and flying over people's zoo to get a sneak peek, okay? She's not. Oh, I can't with this man. I can't. So Carol has this video of a little boy. Whoa, no, sorry. Carol has a video of Joe's 20-week-old cub biting a little boy, and I believe she put that video on the animal abuse website, if I'm not mistaken. 20 weeks is too old for a cub to be cub petting. I mean, there should not be cub petting in the first place, but it should not be 20 weeks. 20 weeks is too old. They need to be isolated. That is too old to be around humans and being pet and everything. So that was a horrible business decision made by Joe, which costed him. I don't know how bad he bit the cub bit the boy, but still, it's the fact that he bit him. Also, they start mentioning the Big Cat Safety Act, which is a law? The Big Cat Safety Act, which if passed, would make it illegal to buy and sell big cats. It would basically do a lot for big cats and protect them. And Carol's really, really trying to get it passed, and Other people aren't, obviously. Joe doesn't want it passed. Doc doesn't want it passed. Others with the zoos don't want it passed. But Carol wants it passed so that the animals can be saved. Since Joe is so against the Big Cat Safety Act and against Carol and everything, obviously Joe's still going on with the death threats, and he starts sending death threats to her followers. You are deranged, actually. That's crazy. 2 years. Is that her followers? Okay. And somebody put snakes in Carol's mailbox. So on his live show, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put snakes in Carol's mailbox. Look what's gonna be in her mailbox tomorrow." Guess what was in her mailbox? Snakes. That is one of my biggest fears, is just like being a snake in my room or something, or me just coming across a snake. I'm not scared of snakes that are non-venomous, and I know that they're non-venomous, and I know that they won't bite me. I'm not scared. I will then hold the snake. Even if they still have their fangs, but I know that they're not venomous, I'll hold them. That's fine. I grew up with my aunt having a snake, and it would like go all over me, up my shirt and everything. So I don't care about domesticated snakes. But wild snakes is a whole other thing, because I don't know what's venomous and not, and I don't think I have very good survival skills. They just literally it's just pure blind hatred for each other. It really is the simplest way of putting it.